Hello, everyone. I don't see anyone in the chat yet, and I do not see anyone viewing yet, but we're live. We have one live person in the audience, and I'm going to, just before I really get going on this, wait another minute or two. Maybe people are away for the Thanksgiving holiday and they're with family. I've been looking at a sutta and a related sutta for a while, contemplating this. It's a pretty, it's a somewhat of a complex teaching, and so I guess I will start talking about it, and then as people come in, here's Bhumika is here. We've got 4 people. Okay, so now we have 4 and a 5th one in the live audience here. So then I will start. I have chosen this sutta. This is from the numerical or numbered discourses of the Buddha. So I have Bhikkhu Bodhi, or Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi. I call him Bhante. I have this translation here. And I also have Bhante Sujato's translation. And I also have, I'm going to tell the background story, which is from the Samyutta Nikāya. So here is this Bhante Bodhi's translation from the Samyutta Nikāya, which is copiously, the commentaries are in the back. So the actual Sutta Nipata without the commentaries is like maybe a quarter of the volume of this book. So Bhante Bodhi has very graciously translated the ancient commentaries on this. But I'm going to start with the story. And the background story is in the Sutta Nipata, and that we don't have the reference here posted. It's in the in the 5th book of the Sutta Nipata, and the whole book is this. Starts out with this. It's Parayana Wagga. Parayana Wagga is the name of the chapter or book, but this is a whole story contained with this Brahmin, this old Brahmin. He was said to be 120 years old, and so the Watu Gatha is the introductory verses. So the story goes that he was this old Brahmin, and he was supported by this very wealthy village. And so he went to do, they said, what it says is a sacrifice. He went to do some kind of a ritual. And when he completed the ritual, he was walking back to his cave where he lived, his dwelling. I think it was a cave. I'm just doing this all by memory. So he's walking back, and this other Brahmin comes. It's described as with grody teeth. Is that how Bhante Sujato translated it? And Bhante Bodhi has dirty teeth and dusty head. So this I guess his hygiene wasn't so good. So this Brahmin approaches the elder Brahmin this grody-toothed Brahmin. And the Brahmin's name, who is the lead character in the story, is so I've got it written down here. Bawari. Okay, Bawari. Okay, so Bawari is approached by this grody-toothed Brahmin, and then so they exchanged greetings, and then this grody-toothed Brahmin knew that he was just coming back from the village, so he started demanding money, 500 coins, and the Brahmin Bawari says, "I don't have that. I've distributed everything that was given to me." So then this grody-toothed Brahmin starts to harass him, and he says, "If you don't give me the money, I will make your head split in 7 pieces." And then he does this. So the Brahmin says, "I really have no money." Bawari says, "I have no money." And then this charlatan Brahmin says, "Okay, then I'm going to do a curse on you." And he does some kind of incantation. And then Bawari is frightened, and he goes back to his dwelling, and he can't eat. He can't get into absorption. And then this is all in verse form, but so I'm just telling the story off the top of my head. But so then Bawari is distraught, and he can't eat, and he can't meditate. And then Adeva is concerned for his well-being, and she comes to Bawari and she says, "That Brahmin is a charlatan. He knows nothing about head splitting." And then the Bawari is grateful, and he says, "Oh, but do you know about head splitting?" And she says, "No, I don't know about head splitting, but there is a conqueror, a victor who knows about this." And then she says, and he says, "Well, where is this conqueror?" And he's near Sawati. She says, "He's an enlightened one." And then he's very excited when he hears this person is a awakened one, or a Buddha. He's a Buddha. And so somehow, it doesn't say exactly how, but somehow his 16 Brahmin students are around him, and he tells these Brahmin students, "Go find this Buddha, find this awakened one, find this conqueror, and you will know him by his 32 marks of I don't know, the 32 marks of a enlightened being, a conqueror. There's some word about, now I can't think of it. But anyway, the marks of a great man, that's what it is, I think. 32 marks of a great man. Maybe and so anyway, so he says, "Use your psychic powers also and question him about my marks." So they go off in this long journey, and they finally make it to outside of Sawati, where the Lord Buddha is residing with an assembly of monks. And then they come up and they pay respects, and they sit down. I think they probably did all the respectful salutations and their clan's name and all that. I can't remember if that's in the story. But anyway, so they're sitting there. And then Ajita, the senior most probably, thinks it with his mind, asks a question: what are the marks of Bhavati? What was his marks? So then the Lord Buddha describes that he has 3 of the 32 marks of a great man. And one is a tuft between his eyebrows, and another one is 3 of them. I can remember one is the shrouded genitalia. And then the other one is, he's got 3. Oh, he can cover his face with his tongue. His tongue is so large. These are kind of unusual things that these days that we would think would designate somebody as a great person. And then but with their psychic ability, they could see. This is said that to be only people with psychic ability can perceive this, because the descriptions of the 32 marks of a great man would make somebody look very strange, and you'd be able to see those characteristics, some of them externally. But because these Brahmins had already developed the psychic powers, they could see it. They could see his radiance. He was just an astonishing being, the Lord Buddha, to those that could see all these wonderful characteristics of him, if you think they're wonderful. But anyway, to them, that was just amazing. So then they asked permission to first they asked about the head and head splitting, because this is what Bawari wanted to know about. And so they were asked, what about head splitting? And the answer was the head is ignorance and the splitting is knowledge. So it's like they talk in kind of verse and symbolism, but instead of like actually a violent splitting of somebody's head, it's like breaking through ignorance. This is the way, this is what a conqueror actually would talk about, rather than something that was devious or bad. So he said, the head is ignorance and the splitting is knowledge, along with mindfulness, energy, sada, the faith. So the knowledge would be the wisdom faculty. And then you would have, so it's kind of, then you have sada, energy, virya, so faith, virya, energy, mindfulness, and samadhi. And I'm not going to translate samadhi. Absorption, stillness, unification of mind. There's all many things. So samadhi is one of the things that were being developed in the time of the Buddha, pre-Buddha, actually. So they knew about these faculties. So with the 5 faculties, we destroy ignorance. So that was the first question that was asked, and Ajita asks his question, and then this question, which is the second question, and this is Tisa Matea's question, and that's the question that these monks are pondering. So I'm going to read, maybe I could read in the Sutta Nipata here. Somebody very kindly put the bookmark in the place where the actual question is. This is Ajita. But the second question, I'm not going to read Ajita's because, so the Lord Buddha answers this question. And then these monks in this sutta that I'm going to go into are pondering it. So the questions of Tisa Matea, this is his question. Who here is contented in the world? For whom is there no agitation? Who, having directly known both ends by reflection, does not get stuck in the middle? So that sounds like a riddle, doesn't it? Whom do you call a great man? Who here has transcended the seamstress? Who's the seamstress? So the Lord Buddha answers, one leading the spiritual life among sensual pleasures, one without craving, always mindful, a bhikkhu who is quenched, having comprehended, for him there is no agitation. So that's the answer to the first part of the question. This is the answer that they're pondering, the second part. Having directly known both ends by reflection, one does not get stuck in the middle. I call him, her, them, a great person. So it's funny, the thumbs up. For they have here transcended the seamstress. So they have these psychic powers. So I think they know what each other is thinking when they talk. It sounds like they're talking in riddle, doesn't it? Okay, so you would just read this in the Sutta Nipata and say, well, that's nice, but what the heck does that mean? So this is what these elder bhikkhus are doing in Anguttara Nikāya 6.61. So we're fast forwarding. This happened, I don't know how long ago, before these bhikkhus had this conversation, but these were memorized, these teachings, these verses were memorized, and now later these elder bhikkhus are pondering them. They're speaking to one another. This is what the bhikkhus are supposed to be doing when they're not meditating or going out for alms. They're supposed to be contemplating the Dhamma. So this sutta I'm reading also, I have Bhante Bodhi's translation also. I have Bhante Bodhi's, and I have here, I have Wada's giving me a message, but I don't know if I should look at it now. Okay, nothing to do with the sutta reflection. Okay, so I have here Bhante Sujato on Sutta Central. I have his translation online, and some of you may have the online, and some of you may have the hard copy, Bhante Bodhi's. So I'm going to look at both of them, and I love both of these venerables who are prolific translators and great scholars. And sometimes I disagree with both of them about the translation. But that doesn't make me a scholar or an expert. It's just that it was my idea. So this is the middle. And this is, it is posted here, AN 6.61. And I will give my commentary, and then also look. There's some wonderful footnotes. This is what's so beautiful about Bhante Bodhi. He's got these wonderful footnotes in his translation, and Bhante Sujato is starting to post his notes too, his footnotes. And Bhante Sujato has the Pali. You can get the Pali English either side by side or interlaced with the English, or possibly other languages that you may be fluent in. So this is the middle. I'm going to start. Thus I have heard on one occasion the Blessed One was dwelling at Varanasi in the deer park of Isipatana. On that occasion, after their meal, on returning from their alms round, a number of elder bhikkhus assembled and were sitting together in the pavilion hall, and this conversation arose. It was said, friends, by the Blessed One in the Parayana, in the questions of Maitreya. And this is the answer that the Lord Buddha gave, not the question. Having understood both ends, the wise one does not stick in the middle. I call him a great man, for he has transcended the seamstress. So the great person, he, she, them, this person's transcended the seamstress. So people will be saying, what, friends, is the first end? What is the second? What is the middle? And what is the seamstress? What? Who? I would say, who is the seamstress? They're saying what? So then they all have their ideas about what this means. So when this was said, a certain bhikkhu said to the elder bhikkhus, contact, friends, is one end. The arising of contact is the second end. Cessation of contact is the middle. And craving is the seamstress, for craving sows one to the production of this or that state of existence. It is in this way that a bhikkhu directly knows what should be directly known, fully understands what should be fully understood, and by doing so, in this very life, makes an end of suffering. So did you understand that? Does that make sense to you? It's kind of puzzling, isn't it? What? So I have a note here. Okay. Contact. This is from the commentary. Let's see. Contact at the first end is one individual existence, so one life, which is produced by way of contact in the first place. So we're just talking about contact and the origin of contact, or the arising of contact. I think that's what Bhante Sujata translated it as. This is Pasa Samudaya. So we have Pasa as one end. Pasa Samudaya, the arising of contact, is the other end. And that is a future birth. And the middle, what is the middle? Okay, so produced with contact of the karma done and this existence as a condition. The cessation of contact is nibbana, so that's the middle. So that's one interpretation. This is the commentarial interpretation. And it's said to be the middle because it cuts in half craving. So nibbana destroys craving. So that's the middle. So if the middle is the middle in terms of the solution to the problem, but you don't want to get stuck there. So this is the puzzle, right? You don't want to get stuck in the cessation, because that's pasanirodha is cessation, and it could be nibbana, complete cessation of contact. Bhante Bodhi says here in the note, craving is then the seamstress because it ties contact from the previous existence to the initial arising of contact at the start of the new existence. That's Bhante Bodhi's. It makes more sense to him that it's not nibbana in the middle, but he doesn't explain. So I think it can be both. So you have, if it's the solution, if the middle is the solution, then it is nibbana. So that's a complete cessation. But when I was thinking about it, if you have the previous contact and then the arising of the next birth, that's the arising of contact, samudaya, pasa samudaya, and nirodha is in the middle, pasa nirodha. So there's a cessation of that existence. So there's a cessation of contact, and craving is weaving these together. So the contact is stopped, and so that's compelling a being who's not awakened to the next birth. So that's being stuck in the middle. Being not stuck in the middle would be nibbana, but it also talks about the understanding. So for craving sows, this is back to the text. For craving sows one production of this state of existence, and it is in this way a person directly knows what should be directly known, fully understands what should be fully understood, and by doing so in this very life makes an end to suffering. So this wise person knows this, and this could be understanding the Four Noble Truths and understanding dependent origination. So this would be not getting stuck in the middle, because we see the rising and passing of contact, and we see the cessation, and we don't want to continue that arising process, because if we're stuck, then we're craving a future arising. So this is my idea about that. And so that's the first one. We have 6. And the other ones I'll go through a little more quickly, I think. When this was said, another bhikkhu said to the elder bhikkhus, the past, friends, is one end, and the future is the second end, and the present in the middle, and craving is the seamstress. For craving sows the production of this or that state of existence to the other. It is in this way that a bhikkhu or a person directly knows what should be known. In this very life, they make an end to suffering. So this may seem kind of obvious, because we have the past life and then the future life, and then being stuck in the middle would be, I thought about this, and then it would be because of the present life, we're remembering the past, and then we're craving things in the future, and that would compel us into future lifetimes. So that seems pretty direct enough. If you ponder it more, you might think about it more deeply than that, but that's one way of thinking of it. When this was said, another bhikkhu said to the elder bhikkhus, pleasant feeling, friends, is one end. Painful feeling is the second end, and neither painful nor pleasant feeling is the middle. And craving is the seamstress, for craving sows one to the production of this or that state of existence. It is in this way that a bhikkhu directly knows what should be directly known in this very life, makes an end to suffering. So we have, that's kind of curious, right? So we have pleasant on one end, we've got sukha, vedana on one end, and we have dukkha, vedana on the other end, and then they're not stuck in the middle with the neutral feeling, or neither pleasant or unpleasant. I think Bhante Sujato says neutral. Neither painful nor pleasant feeling, says Bhante Bodhi. I haven't been reading from Bhante Sujatos because I'm kind of speeding along now. So we have pleasant feeling and painful feeling on the other end. If we were stuck in the middle, the neutral feeling is kind of boring. And the memory of the pleasant feeling is appealing. So we get propelled to the next birth, which is dukkha. This is my thought about that. If you're reborn, it's actually dukkha, but we're remembering the sukha vedana in the midst of ignorance. But if it's the solution, if the neutral, neither pleasant nor unpleasant, then it would be equanimity, and it would help with the arising of understanding or knowledge. So this is my take on that. Bhante Ajahn Brahmali says that the sukha and dukkha, vedana, are paired. They always come together, and you can't have one without the other. So that was his explanation why you'd be compelled towards the dukkha, because they're always together. The sukha, dukkha are always together. Now, that's how a mendicant directly knows an end of suffering in this very life, by understanding this. And then we come to the very interesting one. This is name, or nama, is one end. Form is another. I'm reading now from Bhante Sujatas. That's the second end. Consciousness is in the middle, and craving is the seamstress. So that's pretty interesting, because we have nama, rupa. On this, nama is one end and rupa is on the other end, and they're usually paired, right? So the actually the aggregates, that's a shorthand for all five aggregates, because it's nama is the mind aspect, the mental aspect, and then the rupa is the body, right? But in the one, some of the teachings on dependent origination, when the Buddha was looking back on starting with birth and working his way backwards, he came up to nama, and then consciousness, and these two were leaning against one another. Consciousness conditions name and form, and name and form conditions consciousness. So they kind of like lean back on one another, because like, what conditions nama, rupa, consciousness? What's the condition for viññāna, nama, rupa? So these are now split. This is interesting how these are split. But it may be in the mentality. I don't know. I can't say this is not my expert opinion. It's my guess. We have the mentality and the new physicality. So, and then there's the consciousness in the middle, and that's bringing them together somehow. I don't know, for a new rebirth. But the ignorance around this would be getting stuck in the middle and really understanding how there's this interdependence between the nama, rupa, and the viññāna. So we don't understand that, so that keeps compelling us to this whole cycle of the consciousness seeking. The consciousness cannot exist without nama, rupa, and nama, rupa cannot exist without consciousness, or name and form. So they go back and forth like that. So that would be perpetuating. It would be a shorthand of the perpetuation of rebirth. I'm guessing. This is my guess on this. And I'm sure there's probably people that have written extensively on this very thing, and you'll probably find it somewhere, but I can't talk about it now in a short period of time, and I'm not a scholar, so I don't know all of it. So now we're on 5. When this is said, another bhikkhu said, I'm looking at Bhante Bodhi's now, the 6 internal bases. So consciousness actually is consciousness at these bases. The 6 internal bases, friend, is one end, and the 6 external bases are the other end. So that's quite interesting. So consciousness is at 5 sense gates. So we have the physical senses, eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body for touch. So that's internal. External is sight, smells, sounds, tastes, and the touch at the body. So I think it's just the craving is the seamstress. So craving for more. Then again, what goes back to contact, because this is contact of these sense bases. But the consciousness is what arises. Like if I'm not aware of something, I'm not seeing it, and I might not crave it. So this is the craving is for renewed existence. Is that external to more of the external, external sense base. There is a note here. Did I remove my marker? Maybe. Yeah, this is consciousness. Both rebirth consciousness and the other kinds is said to be the middle because it occurs as a condition for name and form. That's the previous one. And the kamic consciousness in the middle here, because kama is included in the mind base among the internal bases, any kind of consciousness is in the middle. Or else, this is getting into Abhidhamma here. Else the Javana consciousness is dependent on the internal base, for it depends on adverting in the middle, in the mind door, adverting in the mind door. So this is mind door consciousness they're talking about. So that's quite complex, and I can't get into it. I would have to ponder that at length myself. So that was the fifth one. Now we're to the sixth. When this was said, another bhikkhu said to the other bhikkhu, his personal existence, friends, is one end. The origin of personal existence is the second end. The cessation of personal existence is the middle, and craving is the seamstress. So the seamstress is sewing together one existence, one personal existence, to the arising of another one, the origin. It says, I think arising makes sense. That's how Bhante Bodhi translates it. Samudaya is often, it's understood as origin, but also arising too would kind of make sense in this case, I think. Somehow to me, my understanding of it, arising again in another birth, or the origin of it in another birth. Anyway, so and the cessation of one personal existence and the craving for another one. So then I'm going to jump to the chase here. So the bhikkhus say to each other, well, we've all spoken, and the Lord Buddha is like just in walking distance from them. So they say, okay, let's go ask the Lord Buddha what he, who spoke well. And so they ask him, and he says, in a way, bhikkhus, you all have spoken well. But listen and attend closely, and I will tell you what I intended when I said in the Parayana, in the questions of Mattaya, having understood both ends, the wise does not stick in the middle. I call that person a great person. How's that? I call them a great person, for they have transcended the seamstress. And so he says, contact is one end. The arising of contact is the second end, and cessation of contact is the middle. And craving is the seamstress, for craving sews to the production of this or that state of existence to another. So we're so to a state of existence or rebirth. It is in this way that a bhikkhu directly knows what should be directly known, fully understands what should be fully understood, and by doing so in this very life, they make an end to suffering. So that is the full sutta, and I hope it wasn't too confusing or too going through it too fast. But it's really worthy of pondering. You can take one of those and really, but the Lord Buddha said that what he meant when he said that was what the first bhikkhu had said, but all of them were good, and all of them relate to dependent origination and the noble and the Four Noble Truths. Because craving is what's propelling us from lifetime to lifetime, and craving is the cause of dukkha. So let's see here. So we have a number of people who came in. That's Bhumika, Karuna, Amaranta, Bagu. I hope that I said that right. Pili. And let's see. And there's somebody with a script that I can't read. And Sud, S, Dan Jones. I can't even. Manal, and Sud has a question. Let's see. I'll do my best. This is a complex sutta. Dear Venerable, why is it considered meritorious to think and ponder on the Buddha's qualities? Why is it that thinking of Buddha's qualities calms the mind? Since contact with the Buddha's quality seems to... Okay, then we have a second part of the question, it looks like. Okay, second, make one progress on the path. Okay. So I guess maybe that got spurred by maybe the original part, the introduction, where the 32 marks of a great man, person. I don't know if they don't. Anyway, I won't get into the gender issue, but I think I just stuck my mouth into it anyway. To contemplate the qualities of the Buddhas, because he was a human being and he became fully self-enlightened. And this is an inspiration. And then there's he's impeccable in conduct and understanding, accomplished in awakening. He's self-awakened, but we won't become self-awakened, but we can follow the Buddha's example through conduct and understanding, by developing these qualities accomplished in meditation. So this lifts up our heart and brings a lot of joy. So if we're feeling uninspired, for some people, not everybody, but for some people, like, why did I get interested in Buddhism? Because I heard there was this awakened being. What is awakening? What does it mean to be awake? And he left these teachings behind, and it said that I can wake up too. So that can be very exciting to a person. That was for me anyway. So I hope that helps. But it is to bring up inspiration, and hopefully you say, okay, this was a human being. I'm a human being. We're all capable of this. I'm going to apply my mind to this. That's a pragmatic part of it. So we have another question. Okay, looks like a good question related to, it says, contact here at the 6 sensory contacts. In here, mainly mind contact causes rebirth, as the other 5 contacts no longer exist at the time of death. Your thoughts? Okay. So, So the contact at the sixth sense bases, what is being stuck in the middle would be the craving between one lifetime and another. And the middle is the present moment. And there, I'm craving sensory contact. So I'm maybe at the tongue, at the eye, there's what's agreeable to me, what's bringing up craving for me. So it all six, but it does all merge at the mind. So my thinking and craving about things of sensual pleasures keeps me in the rounds of rebirth. So it is at the mind base primarily, but attempting to gratify the six, all six, but the five physical senses. That's what keeps people, they're glorifying that. The craving is kind of glorifying it. Like the taste of food is just in your mouth for a very short period of time, but later it's like, oh, that exquisite, whatever it was. I'm not going to say anything because people bring what if I mention some kind of yummy dessert of some kind or delicious, cuisine from some country or something like that. Or just I want to go to some country where there's these beautiful flowers in bloom at this time of year, or I have to, be in the mountains and look out at the, beautiful view for miles, something like, and so we're glorifying it. And this keeps us to think that the samsara is this great place when actually we're ignoring all the dukkha that arises from not having all that. So, so contact keeps us. That's the craving. The craving is what sows one existence to the other, the continued rebirth process. And yes, you're right about mainly mind. But what the mind is fabricating about is usually about the sense bases. Oh, that person, so beautiful, their hair, the touch of their touching their hair or whatever, their fragrance, whatever, six sense bases. And that keeps us involved with people, keeps us involved in samsara. Okay, so I hope that answered your question. Yeah, let's see. Do you have a question? Yes.
It's related to the last question and your answer. One of the bhikkhus, I think the third one, raises Sukha Vedana at one end and Dukkha Vedana at the other, and you explained that the middle was either neutral Vedana, or what I found very interesting is you also use the synonym boredom.
Oh, boredom arises. Okay, I think
that's. You
that's.
speak to boredom.
Okay, so yeah, so it is related to the sense. They're all interrelated. So you're just taking one piece of the whole dependent origination and the whole our experience too, how our experience manifests in day, moment to moment to moment. So it's like not only is it the many lifetimes, but it's just even in the present moment, there's a whole there's a section of dependent origination, right? So we have the pleasant and unpleasant and neutral, and most of our experience. So the pleasant brings up greed. The dukkha, the sukha brings up greed, the pleasant. The dukkha vedana brings up aversion. And the neither pleasant nor unpleasant, or the neutral, is ignorance. So I was calling it boredom because we want more sense stimulation, which will bring up pleasant. And even people will harm themselves, cause themselves harm, because then that's a strong Vedana, the painful feeling. And some people feel like that hurting themselves is pleasurable, causing themselves physical pain is pleasurable. So, or exerting themselves in such a way that it's uncomfortable. So because, or think about it, you go to a movie and there's all this horrible stuff going on in the movie, and so you're getting all this anxiety and or anger or some kind of really strong emotion. So that's dukkha. That's dukkha at the mind door. But also the body too. The body is suffering when you're angry or anxious, or so people see, or people go on like a roller coaster because there's a strong adrenaline rush. So you're trying to stimulate the senses, because neutral feeling is boring. But that so even you might even say what the pain, but the thing is the memory of the pleasant feeling compels us to a rebirth, which is actually dukkha. So and then that's what Bhante Ajahn Brahmali was saying. The two, the sukha and the dukkha are, there's the better metaphor. I like this one. Ajahn Chah talks about the stick. That's the sukha, that's the dukkha. So you pick it up. You're trying to get, I guess if that was the sukha, okay, or that dukkha. Okay, this is the sukha, that's the dukkha. So I picked up the sukha and I got the dukkha right there. It's just a matter of, so right now the sukha's on the top and then there's the dukkha. So they come together. So when there's rebirth, this is what you get. You see the sukha on the top, but actually run into the dukkha right away. So, but most of our life is neutral feeling. Most of the contact at the sense gates is neutral. So we're always seeking. Some people are seeking the pleasant all the time and avoiding the unpleasant, the dukkha, Vedana. But there are people that seek out the dukkha. So that is I hope that's good enough. You have another?
I would like you to speak, if you would be willing, how to transform the boredom to equanimity, because you also raised equanimity.
Okay, so we have the question about how to transform the boredom into equanimity. Well, we can be aware that there's boredom, or we can be aware that there's this, okay, I've got to, start feeling anxiety or feeling restless or feeling when you're bored, you're feeling grumpy, you're feeling, it's because you're bored. And some people will just go to sleep or check out, or they'll reach for something, Nowadays we have all these devices that we just absorb into. So what the thing is to realize, there's boredom. First of all, and how does this boredom, I can see how this boredom is compelling me to do something. And then can I be at ease with this boredom? Sometimes people will just go to sleep. But this awareness of this kind of dull state of mind, this kind of blunted state of mind, this uncomfortable state of mind. Another thing, Ayyā Suvijjānā said, what she was trying to do was pay attention to neutral Vedana as much as possible, because what grabs our attention is either the dukkha or the sukha. So just to be aware of neutral, and then how the mind, if this equanimous, is stable. So when you're bored, there's the instability because you're seeking. But so actually try to notice when the mind is peaceful and cultivate that, because you can just be at peace with neutral feeling. So just try to notice, oh, okay, there's not a lot, people are always, there's not a lot of sensual contact. There's not a lot of with impact. It's not impactful. The senses aren't impacting me like a strong sound, strong smell, strong taste, and so on. So I'm just sitting here quietly, and then on the meditation cushion. That's a good time because we create a situation to try to create that's not unpleasant and not too pleasant either, or we'll go to sleep. So to be alert and not having a lot of stuff going on, we're just sitting there breathing. That's all we're doing. We might be doing a lot of with our mind, but all we're doing is just sitting there breathing, sitting upright and breathing. So how does it feel just doing nothing? I think this is a big thing about the meditation, is that we're purposely doing nothing but breathing, sitting and breathing. So this is kind of a neutral activity, right? And sometimes we kind of bring up pleasant feeling by doing relaxation and awareness of the breath and stuff. But on the scale of all the impact, the sensory impact we have in our daily life, it's pretty neutral. So if you start being sensitive to the more neutral, the calm, neutral experiences, then you can bring up the upekkha. And that's just being, upekkha is also the Pali upekkha really means just looking on, just seeing how things are. And you don't have to do anything. I don't have to tweak it one way or another. It's just the body breathing, just the body in an upright position breathing. And I'm just witness to that.
Abiding?
Our body breathing. That's all. And we're just witness to the breathing body.
Abiding.
Abiding?
Like the Buddha is abiding.
Oh, the Buddha is abiding. I said the breath is. So let's see that it's about time, but let's see if there is, looks like there's a question here. Sud has another question. I may or may not be able to answer it quickly. It says, Dear Venerable, how does following the Noble Eightfold Path and craving in this case, and craving in this case, I have a hard time reading with the black background somehow. So the Noble Eightfold Path ending craving in this case, in the case of the suttas, the craving being the seamstress. Okay, so so when we follow the Noble Eightfold Path, we're developing wisdom. And the first samadhi, the right view, is at least getting an intellectual understanding of the Buddhist teaching. And samadhi, one of the descriptions of it is the Four Noble Truths. So understanding tanha, and actually I didn't say this, but when they were talking about the seamstress, Sabini, this is the seamstress, she's tanha. The seamstress is tanha. Sabini is tanha. So we recognize craving and how it compels us. So we're our view, getting our view properly aligned, and then deepening that view and seeing that very clearly. And the Noble Eightfold Path all of the path factors support right view. So you start out, right view sets us in the correct direction, but it also deepens our understanding. If we're keeping all the path factors, developing all the path factors, they're all mutually supportive, and they actually supportive of Sama Samadhi, which helps our mind become clear and powerful, and it helps us with the deep insight. So insight into dukkha and the cause of dukkha, which is the seamstress, Sabini. Tanha is Sabini. So she weaves our lives if we let her. So I hope that answers your question. If we're following the path, then it helps us understand these teachings of the Buddha. It puts it all in context. So I'll offer this for your reflection. Any misunderstandings that I've spoken are truly are my own, if I made any mistakes. And I just offer to my best understanding, and if it's helpful, I'd be happy. Hopefully it's not harmful. Anyway, so I recommend that you do your own study too, and even take one of those interpretations and ponder it. May be helpful.
Sadhu, 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 anumodani.
Sadhu to all of you, and we are very respectful to the Lord Buddha and the translators that are helping us have access to the Lord Buddha's teaching. So have a wonderful day, and we can, I don't know, just turn this way to venerate the Buddha behind me, representing all of our potential to awaken, and in gratitude for all those who brought this teaching forward.